Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and today I am depupping my Mangave plant. I have a blog post about it I wrote several years ago when I first got these guys. You can read more about them there if you're not familiar, but Mangave is a succulent, and it's a cross between a Manfreda and an Agave plant. And the cool thing about these guys, now this is silver fox, isn't that gorgeous? But silver fox has a lot of pups that are just kind of detracting from the architectural look of this plant, and I want to put it as the centerpiece in one of my pots on the patio. So I need to get the babies off. And the cool thing is I'll have more plants. I can either pot them up in little containers and grow them on, or give them away to friends. So either way, I have many babies here. But I am going to take them off, treat it just like you would any other succulent. If it has roots attached to it, you're going to be able to pot it up and grow it on. So I am going to take these guys off. So see how beautiful that is? I am going to remove these pups here. This has been in this container for several years, and so the thing was completely ripped down. Look at the roots on that. So my Hori Hori knife is going to come in really handy with this. I am not going to use the Hori Hori to cut the pups off. I am just going to take them off, and they all have roots on them. The few that don't, I'm just going to get rid of those, compost them. But then we'll pot this up. But this one is silver fox, has this gorgeous purple tinge to it. And what's really cool about them is, unlike other succulents that cannot stand to be soaked all the time, the Mangave can take more moisture and give them a little more moisture, more food, and they get huge, which can be an issue in the wintertime because I'm a zone 5. I'm in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, and I have to store these indoors for the wintertime. So I have a couple different varieties, and they're getting quite huge. So I don't want it to get too big, but I do want this guy to get bigger. I'll think about what I'm going to do with it for the wintertime when I get to that point. But for right now, I am going to cut these pups away. I'm going to loosen up this root ball and pot it up in one of my new Aquapot light containers. But let's get to it. So you can see this guy here, it's still attached to the mother plant, but it has plenty of roots here. So this is going to be one that I can grow on. I'm just going to pull him out. I might just have to cut him out. There, I have another little plant. So what I did was I went through and I had a lot of dead leaves, and they'll accumulate at the base. So I cut out all the dead leaves from this just to clean it up even more. And now I'm just going to cut out the rest of the babies and create more plants. So we've got some roots there. A whole new plant. I was at Walter's Gardens last summer, and they had their Mangave planted directly in their beds, and they were massive. And some of them look like outer space plants. They were so different and so unique. I just grow mine in containers. I don't want them to get that big because, like I said, I'm in a cold climate, and it's just more difficult to store, overwinter them, because they just get too big for my house. So I've got a lot of babies here. Check that out. It's pretty cool. This is probably my most favorite Mangave. It's silver fox, and my favorite color is purple. And it's got all these beautiful powdery purple colors to it. So, and the interesting thing, when you bring your Mangave in for the winter time, they get darker. They lose all their whatever kind of mottled color they have. I have one called Mission to Mars that's got red specks on it, kind of red and purple specks all over it. And it loses all that variegation in the wintertime when the lights lower. So, and I do have it myself facing windows, but it still gets kind of muddy looking, but it overwinters fine. And then I slowly reintroduce it outside in the springtime, increasing the light exposure each day, and it does great. And so I have a bunch of little insurance policies here. It's the pup from my silver fox Mangave. And I'm just gonna pot them up like I would any other plant that I've divided. But for my bigger guys, like this one, check out that one, it's got great roots. I'm gonna put him in this pot. And then I've got little starter pots too. So the little guys, I've got a little guy here. I have a difficult time throwing plants away. And this has a few roots, so I can give these away. I think it's a great plant, and it's a very sculptural plant. So I'm going to pot them up and water them in and put them on the patio, and so they can join the big guy. And also, don't be afraid if you've got leaves on. Some of them have kind of tattered leaves on them. Don't be afraid to clip them off and get rid of them. I've broken a few of them, so it can look kind of pitiful. Just get rid of them, or anything that's droopy. Clean them up. You'll never know they had that issue to begin with. So some of them have dead ends on them too. Just pull them off. They recover really fast. So some of these leaves are pretty unattractive now. They've got a lot of dead ends on them. So I am just going to go through and cut them out. I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm just getting rid of it because this plant is such a sculptural plant. Look at the shape of that. Oh gosh, I love it. Okay, and then I'll show you how I'm going to plant it up in my container. But let's get rid of the ugly leaves first. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Isn't it pretty? All right, so the next step is I am going to use my hori-hori knife to slice these roots up a little bit so that they are encouraged to grow out into the new potting soil. And I think once it's in the new container, it's been in this little container. Look at how it's formed to the shape of the pot. So I think once I loosen this guy up and get it into its new container, its bigger container, it's really going to explode. And like I said, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with this thing for the winter time because I definitely don't want to lose this guy. So you can see this plant is pretty root bound. I mean, it is completely just solid, and there's no moisture in it. I just watered this last night and it's completely dry. So I am going to take my hori-hori. Gosh, I know I just had that thing. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take my hori-hori knife and just cut some, kind of slice into it a little bit. Can you see that? Can't really see that. So I'm just going to take the hori-hori knife. It's got a really nice serrated edge. This is a bare bones hori-hori knife. I've used it, I've had it for years. This is a Christmas present from my husband. The best hori-hori knife I've ever used, and I've tried several. But I'm not going to be precious with this. I'm just going to cut into those roots. And what this is going to do is encourage the plant to branch out, to root out into the new potting soil. And I'm also going to put a slice in the bottom as well. And then you just kind of want to loosen it all up. Gosh, look at how thick those roots are. Holy cow. So I'm just going to kind of tease them all open. That is a ton of roots, you guys. And I'm also being careful the way I lay this. I don't want to smush these leaves. I don't know, you call them leaves? They're so unique. They're very fleshy too. But I'm laying it on my lap because I don't want to crush these leaves because they're so beautiful and I want it to retain this shape in the pot. Let's put another cut over here too. This guy, holy, oh my goodness. And it's not going to hurt the plant. If anything, I mean, it's going to revive it and it's probably going to get a heck of a lot bigger. Look at that layer of roots. Wow. I'm going to take some of this off actually. I'm not too concerned about it. It's like a helmet. And there you have it. Let's pot it up. So this is an Aquapot Light container. This is brand new from Proven Winners. I did a video about it. You can check that out here where I explain all the components, but it's super light and they'll be available later this summer. And as soon as they are, I'll add the link to the caption so you can go directly there. But this one is the courtyard design. Comes in several different colors and there are many different styles based on your design aesthetic in your garden. This just will go with everything. And I am going to put my Mangave as the centerpiece in this. So this is it's It's a self-watering container. So this is the reservoir. And you can see all the information about that in my previous video. But before I pot it up though, I want to make sure I've removed the plug. So there's the plug in the bottom of your aqua pot, and that's gone. You want to make sure that you take that out because that is your overflow. So say it rains, it'll allow the water to rinse out so you don't have a pond garden. So I am going to go and start filling this up with soil, pack it in that wick, and then we can pot up my plants. I like to pre-wet the soil because potting soil absorbs a lot of moisture. So I like to start with a damp potting soil. It just makes life a lot easier. All right, so I've got the potting soil where I want it to be, and before I plant, I'm going to add a few ounces of continuous release fertilizer. It's going to go in the potting soil as well as down in the reservoir. And also for my containers, I feed them once a week, so they get really big and beautiful. And so let's start this here first, maybe about an ounce or two, and then some here, and then like salt a little over the shoulder, right? But okay, mix it up. I don't know, was I supposed to throw that over my right shoulder or my left shoulder? I'm not Italian, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Anyway, so I'm gonna put the Mangave in here. I've got my spout. It's gonna be toward the back so you don't see it. This is going on my patio. So let's get the Mangave in. I'm excited to watch this explode. I think it's gonna just wake up. It's been in that pot for so long. I really should have potted this up last year. But I'm getting to it now, so it's all good. Okay, that looks good. And I was gonna put other annuals in this, but I don't know that I have any room for that. So let's just move it in around there. We have a little bit of room, so we'll see. Proven Winter sent me 3 of these Mangave several years ago. I got one, this is Arctic Fox. I got one called Pineapple Express and another one called Ink Blot, and all are still growing. And what's interesting about them is if you grow them in a smaller pot, they kind of conform to the size of their container, kind of like fish. You know, isn't that like goldfish will grow only so big based on the size of the tank you give them? That's sort of what Mangave do. And Mangave don't mind water, so I mean you don't want them sopping wet, but they will grow. The more you water them and feed them, the bigger they will get. And I kind of want this guy to get big, and then I kind of don't, because then I've got storage issues for the winter time. This one is hardy to zone 9. There are Mangave that are hardier, I think, to zone 7, or I don't remember. One might be called Bad Hair Day. But you can check that out on my blog. I wrote this about Mangave a few years ago when I first got these plants, and I do talk about Mangave that are a little bit cold hardier. I think to 7. I'm going to try to get a couple annuals maybe in the corner to spill over the sides. I'll show you what I've got. So I'm putting in a new to me plant. This is a James Britannia Safari Dusk, and I've never grown these before. And I'm just going to pop them in the corners, kind of squeeze them in, and loosen up the roots a little bit. I've had these on the patio for a while, so 2 of them look a little crispy. And if you have annuals that are still flowering and look kind of crisp, you can always cut them back and they will regenerate as soon as they're in more hospitable conditions. I've been a little neglectful. So this is the best one of the 3 that I have, and it's no fault of the plants, it's completely my fault. But I am going to put him at the face of this because my spout is in the back. I'm going to tuck this guy in here. And Arctic Fox, or I'm sorry, Silver Fox is a little pokey. So certainly not as pokey as like an agave would be, but it does have some spines on it. So if you're sensitive to that, you might want to wear some longer gloves. But they're not that bad. And just as I say that, I just poke myself. Okay, so see, this guy's a little crispier looking. I'm still going to pot him up. He'll be fine, I hope. Put him on the patio and let them work it out. And if it doesn't recover, I can always plop in another annual. But I'm hoping he does because I really love how sculptural this plant is. It's very dominant. I'm getting soil in my face. Sorry, guys. It's a very dominant plant. And I love the small, very dainty texture of the safari dusk. So hopefully this will pop back and wake up. So in the back, because I had an open space near the reservoir, I am just popping in a Sweet Caroline, Sweetheart Mahogany, sweet potato vine. So just because I wanted to fill the space. And then we'll just let them work it all out. But I think that, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now all that's left is to water it in. And when you water this in the first time, you're gonna water the soil first, let that settle in, and then you're gonna fill up the reservoir. And you shouldn't have to fill it more than once a week. Check it, depending on the weather and everything, and the location, and how thirsty the plants are. But that's the beauty of an aqua pot, is it saves you time, it saves you water, so you're not having to do waters frequently and spend time out there taking care of your container gardens. You're more time to enjoy them instead of fussing over them. So I am gonna actually carry this onto the patio, where I'm gonna put it in its permanent spot for the summer, and then I'm gonna water in it. But watch how light this is. And the final step is watering it. I'm gonna water the soil first, and then I'll fill the reservoir. So I think that turned out pretty awesome. I'm loving my Mangave. I love the sculptural element of it and all the little purple flowers that accent it, and then the sweet potato vine. So I'll update you as this grows on, and thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.